Hello, 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 beautiful souls. Welcome back to another episode of Sisters with a Purpose. I'm your girl, Leash.
And I'm Bree.
And as you can see, we are at home. Bree's in the car. It's been a minute since we recorded between baby showers, birthdays, school, life, work, wife duties, mother duties. It's been a time we've been busy, but we could not let Juneteenth weekend go by without recording an episode. So we are going to go ahead and jump right into it. So Juneteenth was on Thursday, but a lot of festivals and events are going on this weekend. I know my husband and we plan on, going to an event here later today. But Bree, how do you celebrate Juneteenth?
This year I didn't get to celebrate how I wanted to. For San Antonio, those that are around San Antonio, they did a big Juneteenth celebration at Comanche Park. Unfortunately, with my work schedule, I wasn't able to participate. So they celebrated here in San Antonio actually last weekend.
Okay.
So they did something. I think the Carver Center did something else, just celebration of like Black history and stuff. For me, I normally don't really go out. I just stay home. Just more so just try to educate my kids, obviously, on what Juneteenth is. My daughter's school actually celebrated Juneteenth.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they made like little hats. They had like, they took pictures and stuff. So I am excited that at least the schools are showing and appreciating what Juneteenth is about and educating the kids on. I really think that's more so what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I know here they're doing, they're celebrating all like entrepreneurs that have like food trucks. So from 11 to 7, it's at a big football stadium here in Mansfield. They'll be having like food trucks. You can come listen to live music. It's hot today, so we ain't gonna be out there all day, but we will definitely, show support. And just like you said, for the ones that are holding events, just in acknowledging it and celebrating, we will definitely be in attendance today. So yeah, that's how we usually don't celebrate it. Like we don't really do nothing like fancy either. But this year, I know with it being the second year we're in Mansfield, they were sending stuff, putting it in the mail, and we're going to actually go out there here in a little bit. But yeah, that's it. Before we kind of move into our next topic with Juneteenth, I kind of just slipped over like the purpose of our episode because again, we try to record each month. So the purpose of Sisters with a Purpose is, for me, you'll always get a little bit of sports. From Bree, you will always get like a health topic or a recommendation or whatever's going on for this month. And for June, when we get into it, we'll make sure we talk about those topics. But back to Juneteenth, because Bree, you sent me a crazy video, and we'll make sure to add the video when we edit it.
I have a question. So like you're from the South. Obviously, you grew up a different kind of way, and you're a rapper too. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you could say the N-word?
I feel like I can say it, but not because of that, and I'm gonna tell you why. Mm-hmm. I wish there was some black dudes in here.
There are. Will behind you.
And there's one right here. Not.
Okay, well, we're gonna use him.
Okay, that's my manager. Hey, Will.
Because me and Fee know what's up.
Will, you're black? I'm saying.
What the fuck are you gonna do about it, And then second of all, I grew up loving these motherfuckers. I grew up fighting with them. I grew up eating with them. I grew up fucking doing bad shit with them. I grew up loving with them. I got family. And it's not even about family. Even if I wasn't related to nobody out black, I mean, it was shit. It's what the fuck I was surrounded by, Like, I respect people that they feel that way. Mm-hmm. And that's why I try to shut the fuck up about it.
Right.
But if you're from where I'm from, or anywhere, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? It's like I done went to the jungle and earned the lion's head. Mm-hmm. And I'll dominate anywhere. And
So
I'm not saying
respect-
I'm out here just fucking whooping ass, because
Okay.
I've taken some ass whoopings. But you will respect me the same way I respect you.
I feel like a lot of people that are from Latino descent here in New York feel that same way. The
That's
Puerto
a
Ricans,
fact.
the Dominican, like Stephanie, for instance, our former co-host.
Yeah.
Like she's 100% Puerto Rican, but will in down,
Right.
and nobody says anything about it. So what's the difference?
I mean, shit, y'all just, I mean, and not even trying to justify it, but shit, y'all just got dropped off before us. That's all.
But Bree, go ahead and how are you feeling after you watched that video that was on the Shade Room?
You know, personal conversations like this before, right? And me personally, I don't utilize the N-word, right? And for me, I learned very early on, a good family friend of ours, Emmanuel Todd, did 20 plus years in the Air Force, lives in our neighborhood. And for me, I remember as a child, you know, I was in high school. So, you know, the slang, the verbiage we use, we're still trying to like figure out ourselves, right? And
in high school.
word in front of my neighbor, and I remember the disappointment I saw in his face, and I remember him telling me, you're a beautiful young lady, you are educated, you know, you're trying to get somewhere in life, and I think that there's a lot of other words that you can utilize to express yourself. That's not one of them. And then he went on to kind of just give me the history, which we all know the history of how the slang N-word came about versus the 400 years long still
Right.
day N-word, right? And so it stayed with me, and from that point on, it just not a part of my vocabulary, because I'm like, he's right, there's so many other ways that I can express myself. I don't allow my kids to use that word. Chris, his resonates a little bit different. He grew up more so in California, in LA, the word utilized. However, it's very much frowned upon when the slang term is used by another race. So when he got here to San Antonio, it was very tough and very hard for him to understand how the Latino community here is a little bit more comfortable with utilizing the slang N-word. And for the first time he heard it, he was in barber school, and he straight tell you, he looked around like, excuse me? Because he's like, and nobody, you know, and then there's other African Americans in there. He's like, ain't nobody gonna say nothing. And so I had to tell him, unfortunately, the culture here, they feel as though it's a little bit more susceptible. For me, I don't like it within our community, because it comes with the stigma. That stigma being rap, that stigma being ghetto, that stigma being less educated, that stigma being that we don't know how to express ourselves, right? That's the stigma that, unfortunately, that slang term comes with. Not the history, the slang term. So I don't care at all. So the video that we're referencing, it is a Hispanic rapper. I think his rap name is Mexican OT. On a room, and he pretty much expresses, and you guys will see it in the video, that he uses the N-word and goes on to furthermore say, like, and who gonna check him on it? Pretty much that's how I took it. Like, yeah, I use it, and you know, I grew up within the community, I have homeboys. The justification process of it, to me, no go, didn't care for it. There's never a justification for it. I don't care if you was the only Hispanic on the block, you don't get a pass. I have friends that are different races. I tease even my neighbor to this day about being cookout ready, and it's more. They're a blended family. One is Caucasian, and he's married to a Hispanic. His wife is Hispanic. I tease them about it all the time, but that is just for them to be more culturally aware. Like, you know, our cookouts are different. You know, the music, some of the history, the movies. Spades is a big thing that's in our culture. If you don't know how to play spades, dominoes, you know, it's black card revoked. So but at no point in time do they ever feel like that it is the past to where they're that susceptible in our culture that they can take something that was once used to diminish us, dehumanize us, and be a part of the culture and use it as a slang term. That's a no though.
Right. So you're saying you don't agree when, say, you're at a concert and it's in a song and it comes up. You don't agree with, if you're not African American, you shouldn't be saying it.
I don't think nobody gets a pass.
Nobody
Now,
gets
funny
a
because there is a video that Chris Brown that just went
That's, yeah, that's what I was that's what I was talking about, because I'm going to the concert in
right,
September here.
baby. They was up in there like, "Are you sure?" And I was, it was in. And if y'all don't know what song we're talking about, it was a collaboration song that he did a few years ago, and stuff like that. But nah, I feel like, hey, if you're gonna do it in your car when I'm not in the car. Because if you do it when I'm in the car with you, I'm a side eye.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I saw that video too. I was like, no, Chris Brown didn't. I think the song is like Freaky Friday with
It is
I
Friday.
forgot who the other artist is with him, but I was like, it would
With
be
the
him.
little, what's his name, Little Dicky or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, I don't get no passes.
Yeah. So I agree with you as well. I know when you sent it to me, I was just like, that's just plain ignorance. Like, why? First off, as far as you saying, like, who's going, basically, like you said, who's going to check them? To me, it's more of like, just, you've gotten so comfortable saying it. That's the problem. It's the comfortability part for me. Like, you shouldn't even have gotten to that point. I know myself, I don't pretty much say it at all, because, even as a woman, or not even as a woman, as a black woman, there's just other ways to acknowledge our black men. And like you said, to me, it's more derogatory. I know it's used in rap, but again, some rap artists, they don't use it. There's some rap artists, you can listen to some songs, or you can pull up some songs and it's just rapping. They don't reference that word at all. Or if they do say it, they don't even say, like you say, it's not the slang word of it. So I agree with you. I thought it was ignorant, and I didn't check the comments. I should have, but I know in the comments they was probably going back and forth
It
about it.
backwards and forwards. I think the part that also kind of ticked me off was that was the best part. That was the best time to educate him and check him on that. Like, you
Hmm.
couldn't have been on my podcast, you couldn't have been on my thing and sat there and was like, "Yeah, I said, and who gonna check me on it?" That your interview would have got cut short. As a black,
Yeah.
Angela Yee, sorry, is more Latino based. I don't think she's African American. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think
I don't think he
if
would have did that on the Breakfast Club. Sorry.
I was just about to say that, because I've been watching the Breakfast Club lately, and between Jess, Lauren, and Charlemagne, and all that, I don't think and
I don't think
they,
I
yeah,
don't think they would have let him got away with it. I don't think he would have tried it in Atlanta.
yeah, oh yeah, heck no.
And I think in the studio, I don't think he would have walked outside them doors. I think that's a Southern comfort. I don't think that's a
Mhm.
Northern comfort. I don't think it's a California comfort if he travels out that way. That he would go to good old LA, Slauson, Crenshaw, and tell somebody of our ethnicity, y'all use it anyway.
Mm,
Mm.
right. He probably wouldn't have made it back, because now it's been a minute. I can't honestly say, but because Paul Wall is Paul Wall in Houston, but from what I remember and from what I recall listening to Paul Wall, I don't think I've ever heard him, and he's married to a black woman.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember he had said, like, and I think, like he said, he's been educated on it. So that's why he chooses not to use it in his raps and different things. So,
He's surrounded by that culture, and
mhm,
he
especially in Houston.
and he don't get
Yeah.
a little bit of a pass. I hate to bring it up. I'm in a biracial marriage, and my ex husband would have never. Would have never. I don't care how much you done got cultured down and educated, and your style might have changed. You couldn't have paid him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So again, leave a comment. We'll make sure to add the little video, or if you follow the Shade Room on Instagram, you've probably seen it. But again, it's so much going on right now in the summer. If you blinked or if you scrolled, you probably would have missed it. I personally unfollowed the Shade Room on Instagram because of peace, because I forgot it was something that was going on, and they was just constantly posting about it. I told my husband, I said, I'm unfollowing the Shade Room. I need a little grace. But when Bree sent it to me, I said, yeah, it don't surprise me. That's stuff that they post. But again, make sure you educate yourself about Juneteenth. I don't even want to get into what um, the president said about, or what he posted on the holiday about, like, there's too many unpaid holidays or non-working holidays or something. I don't
Uh-oh.
even want to. Yeah, I don't even want to get into that. But we do want to make sure that you look into the purpose of Juneteenth and just get your history and your education on it, because
And that are not educated on what Juneteenth is, because there may be somebody, right?
Mhm.
Different climates, whatever the case may be. 1865 is when African Americans were granted freedom. Fourth of July
Mhm.
is not our freedom. The
Right.
4th of July was celebrated many, many years, and we were still amongst slavery. So that is the day that we were officially freed as slaves. But it took an additional like 2 years before it entered the proclamation, and people actually knew that they were free.
Exactly. Yeah. So I know, Bree, that makes me smile that your daughter's daycare school did something, because it starts young. It starts at home. So I'm glad to hear that. But let's go ahead and transition into our sports section. It's funny, when we were talking about the agenda, I was telling Bree, I ain't really been watching sports. I have, but I haven't. Because in the summer it's really just
Quiet.
baseball. Yeah, baseball. The finals is finna wrap up. Um, the USA 16-year-old girls team is playing right now, blowing everybody out. But the finals, the actually made it to game 7. I was telling Bree, because we're trying to figure out a day to record. I was like, well, shoot, they might end it on Thursday so we can record, through the weekend. But the Pacers won and they pushed it to a game 7. Hmm. Do I think like, who do I think is gonna win? I'm rooting for OKC just because I've seen them play. They play with heart. I don't want them to. I mean, they got the MVP. They got a whole. They're young. I think OKC could have won it last year when Dallas beat them. But the Pacers are always the underdog, and they've been beating all the good teams on the East. So I don't know. It's gonna be a good game, regardless. But if I had a little betting money, I'd bet it on OKC, just because they're at home, and I think just how everything's been going, you play a little better at home. I know people wanted it to be a neutral site, but it ain't never been like that in sports. That's the whole purpose of, trying to be a top seed, so you can play it a certain way and be able to play at home. Has Chris, have you been keeping up with it or not really?
I've been peeping my head in when he's watching a game. Chris has not missed a game. He don't care if he
Oh,
come
for
recorded. This is the last of the sports he gonna get until football season. So he has been
Mhm.
keeping up with it. Obviously, y'all, if y'all don't know, my husband is California down. So if it's not a California team, he can care less. Just give him the excitement of the game. Um, Same thing for me. I mean, the Spurs, obviously, we may not see them in the final for a little bit. They rebuilding. I don't really have a plus or minus of who I want to take this series, as long as it's just a good game and it's not a blowout like Game 6 was. Um, Game 6 was a blowout, so I'm hoping that they at least they give us a good game. I would have liked to have seen the Knicks make it though.
Same. That's what I was just about to say. I wasn't not taken away from the Pacers, but it was just more. I watched more when it was the Pacers and the Knicks series than I have like this final series. Because even when OKC was playing Anthony Edwards and them, I was watching. I was into that series more than I am in the finals because I kept telling even my little brother, I was like, I ain't really trying to see an OKC and Indiana finals, and that's why I ain't really been watching it. Like you said, I turn it on here and there, but to be honest, husband had me watching hockey. I had been watching the Stanley Cup, and I was more like intrigued into that. I said, "Ooh, they fighting."
I heard it's a good time.
Yeah, no, I was like, that's what I said. We was going back and forth, and I was kind of into the hockey more. So congratulations to I think it's I think they're the Panthers, but the Florida team won. But yeah, man, they was going at it. I learned a lot. I said, shoot, I wish the Dallas Stars would be good. They made it to the playoffs, but yeah, this I guess this year or maybe next year we gonna try to catch a hockey game.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Spurs, do you think Kevin Durant's actually gonna come here?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so either. Nice man
Y'all,
on the picks, but I mean, unless he's in the part where he's understanding that like maybe he just wants to kind of, I don't want to say rest his body more, but he wants to kind of rebuild with the team and understand that he's going to be more of a development OG kind of person. Don't mind taking a backseat for a little bit. Cool. But if he's still focused on dream team winning a championship, I don't see him coming here.
yeah, we were talking about that the other day. I just can't see Wembley. I think it's Wembley, whatever his name is. I can't see him and KD on the same team.
Really?
I also can't see him because some people had asked about Giannis. I can't see him and Giannis playing together because they play very similar, in my opinion. They both are obviously large individuals. They both kind of have an outside game. You know, there's no more back to the basket type big players. So Wembley and I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. The NBA, I think the NBA draft is next week.
Yeah, Kristen,
So
check that out.
yeah, because this is an interesting draft class. I don't really be paying attention to the NBA draft, but I was watching the show on Netflix with Shaq with his, because he's the president of Reebok, and I think his name is Ace Bailey. He's a top recruit in the NBA, so I'm curious to see where he goes. And I think after once people are drafted, I can kind of have a better idea. But shoot, with Luka getting traded to the Lakers, anything is possible. The NBA they don't surprise me anymore. So it's fun.
Take it.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember on a previous episode, I know somebody's like, well, you said the NBA wasn't interested. Spoke too soon. Because Luka got traded. The damn Knicks almost made it to the finals. What else happened? Giannis is looking for a trade. LeBron got hurt. I spoke a little too soon. I think that was in February about All-Star Weekend because after that, everything I was like, man, NBA is starting to get their money's worth now.
Yeah. OKC has definitely been holding it down with the defense. And then Jalen, I think, put up like 40 points like game 5. SGA's been doing numbers too. So it's gonna be very curious to see who takes what and how they finish it out.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's Halliburton versus SGA. It just depends. Light skin versus dark skin. Light skin versus dark skin. So we'll see. But no, yeah, I will honestly say I underestimated SGA. I didn't see him being top caliber. Trey and Husband had to school me. I said, really? And then I started watching some of his games. I said, oh, okay, shut me up. He get all his flowers. I said, like you said, we're so used to, and I think we might have said it a few episodes ago, our era of, Tony Parker, Ginobili, Chris Paul when he was, Chris Paul, Steph Curry, like, but they finna they finna take a back seat. So we do
Back
need to start getting used to the newer names.
Yeah, it's time.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap up our sports section, we did want to talk about the WNBA because Paige, she's been doing good for Dallas. I haven't been to a game yet, but as a rookie, she's been balling. She made the team. A lot of people didn't understand just because in the WNBA when you're drafted, you still got to make the team. I think maybe the first 8 or 10 rounds when you're drafted in the WNBA, you're kind of guaranteed a team. But some of those players, just because you drafted, you still gotta make the team, and it's tough. A lot of them have to go overseas the first year, and develop and stuff. But it is challenging making the WNBA team and staying in the WNBA. They even with them having a team, I think it's out of Washington. It starts with a V, but they did add recently another team.
Okay.
But Bree did send me another video, y'all. Again, I don't really be on social media. I be asleep or I'm cleaning up or doing something. But Bree sent me this video with Kelsey Plum, and we'll make sure to add it. But
the bus was right here.
We're going 2 hotels here.
Yeah.
Don't y'all find that kind of weird? Low key? Like low key, come on.
A little, but
Okay.
I'm
really turned off right now.
I'm just a fan though.
I know, I appreciate that.
You sign one, you put my name on it.
One.
Awesome.
I'll sign one.
That's what I get you on that one.
Yeah.
Keep killing it this year. Appreciate that.
Bree, how did you feel after you saw the video with Kelsey kind of not wanting to autograph?
It comes with the territory of your job.
You think so?
Of your job. You cannot be that much in the limelight, WNBA, hockey, any form of celebrity, and think that you're not going to be asked for an autograph, or people are not going to ask you for autographs in weird places. Somebody might even ask you in the damn bathroom, okay? Like, so I didn't understand the demeanor, and she being like, well, this is pretty weird. You're outside my hotel. Like, you've been doing this long enough to know they camp out places, airport, like whatever, to try to catch a moment. And so I didn't understand it. But you said that her demeanor's kind of always been a little rudish or opposite side. So I'm surprised.
Yeah, even when she was with the Aces, and again, but the Aces obviously have a little bit more star power. So maybe she was more in the background, but since she's been traded, it kind of just plays a factor. I could just see her perspective from it because she maybe didn't want to get traded and then she got traded. So now she's on this team. And then I think I couldn't even tell from the video, like, was it one of her cards on the new team or was it one from when she was with the Aces?
It was several. Both of them were like, they had several cards on their thing, but it didn't seem like a card issue. It was just like, y'all outside my hotel, and they were like, well, actually, we're like right by your bus. And she's like, y'all don't just find that a little weird? And I'm sitting here like, did she forget her occupation?
Yeah, but I mean, for the WNBA, I wouldn't know. Shit, I wouldn't know. But I feel like it is a little bit different. I know with like Trey and stuff, there is designated times where people can come up to them or like they'll ask to sign, but then there's times when those players are with their family and stuff. So you just kind of have to read the room. And again, I don't want to judge it off of that clip that was cut because I don't know, like, was she coming from, was she running late? Like, was the bus finna leave? So she was just walking out, or, I just don't, you can't really, it's hard when they just cut a clip because I'm pretty sure if they would have been at the game or after the game when it's time to sign autographs and stuff, she might not have been like that. But again, it just depends.
Like most players just doing, if you were going to have that demeanor, instead of allowing yourself to be put in that moment, right, with somebody that's a fan and you giving them feedback on this being weird, or you giving them feedback, you're giving them this kind of negative energy. I would have taken it better for you just to keep walking to your bus and let security deal with it. Hey, they got to get to the game. They got to get to the arena. Look, somebody could have. Hey, now's not a good time. Sorry. And
Yeah.
put you in the forefront of like, well, dang, like I got up at 5. I really idolize her, especially with the WNBA. You get the feedback. We don't get a lot of coverage. We don't get paid the same. We don't get treated different. You got somebody that's treating you like a celebrity, and then that's just your feedback on it. I get that they're human, but hey.
Yeah, I just think it's just different situations, different strokes, different folks. Because it's been times where you just kind of have to read the room. Like even with Trey, like not it's not getting starstruck, but you'll just be like, oh, that's so and so, or oh, that's like when he used to be with the Bengals, I'd be like, oh, that's Joe Burrow, like oh, that's that's the other receivers. You just kind of like, oh, okay, and they would be with their families and stuff. So obviously you're not gonna walk up to them, but it just depends. Kids, I feel like always get a pass. Like, of course, if it's a kid, like they'd be like, yeah, of course. But when it's a grown adult, like imagine, you at dinner with your family and somebody walking up to Chris and you like, we trying to have dinner. Like, I understand you idolizing Chris, but we trying to have dinner. But then at the same time, I do see, like you said, it does come with the territory, because when I come home, I'm in this 12-bedroom house. So you come up to my person anytime, but it just depends. From her, but from Kelsey, Kelsey Plum, she just different. I would say this: if that would have been Angel Reese, it would have been on all news. It would have been made a bigger deal. But I think because it's Kelsey,
her hair pull and Caitlin Clark and her face scratch, because it was a lot of WNBA.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, even then, and I like how on Sports Center, because Stephen A. and I think Monica Nutt, they had talked about it, and Monica, she's so black. I love her. She was just like, they've been beefing. Like, why is this even a segment that they're talking about? Angel and Caitlin, I wouldn't say it's beef, but it's just they're competitive. So now y'all finna limelight something because of competitiveness. I don't know, but again, whatever you got to do to get the views, and the WNBA's viewership is going up, I'm happy for it. But yeah, I think if, like you said, if that would have been Angel and she would have been like, "You're weird," like I don't want to, like, girl would have been,
yeah,
breaking news, But with Kelsey, that's why when you sent me the video, I was like, oh, she, that's her demeanor. But I mean, she didn't want to. She didn't play on the USA team, and she's older, so that's probably why. But that does. What was you gonna say?
I don't know if she gonna get no pass for that one. They giving her one though.
When you older, you get a pass. Well, let my dad say it. I'm old, so he told me I get a pass. I can just say what I want. I said, what is that? Being old and saying what you want, they don't go hand in hand together at all. But let him tell it. He can say how he feels and whatever he wants to them folks at his job.
Was it Bernie Mac or Steve Harvey that said that kids get a pass, the elderly get the pass? Everything up and to get us the hell out. And that's low key kind of true.
Right.
But
all right, let's transition into our health portion. So Bree, you're gonna talk about PTSD. So let's go ahead and get into that.
All right, y'all. So health, June, first of all, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, right? And then July is focused more on African American mental health awareness month. But for the month of June, it is Mental Health Awareness Month, but it's also PTSD Awareness Month. If you're not familiar with what PTSD is, it is a mental health condition that typically occurs after some form of traumatic event, typically within the onset or after set. I will put a chart up that talks about the different kinds of PTSD that you can have. There's like 4 to 5 different kinds that you can have. With PTSD, it is commonly mislooked at and stigmatized as something that you only see military individuals have, and that is not true. Uh,
Right.
is it more likely to occur with individuals in the military? Yes. There is a study that shows 11 to about 20% of individuals that serve within Iraq and Afghanistan, unfortunately, have been diagnosed with PTSD. However, PTSD, let's just say I go out one day, I get into a bad car accident. That was a traumatic event for me. That is something that can cause PTSD. So, what would that look like? Well, I may have anxiety. I may have depression when I get behind the wheel of a car. I may have night terrors about it, right? Dreams about it. I may have issues where it causes panic attacks, those panic attacks, shortness of breath. Those kinds of things are your typical symptoms when you think about PTSD. It's an event that has occurred that it alters the mental condition and the mental state of an individual. Sexual abuse is another one that causes PTSD for individuals. So those are things that when you look at PTSD as a whole, don't just associate it with the military. It can be something that traumatically happened to you or not directly to you, in front of you. Sometimes we witness things in life, and that can play a part and also trigger these symptoms that can occur. What I did find interesting is that women are 2 times more likely to be diagnosed or experience a form of PTSD. That is not something that I was aware of. And then because, we always want to be an advocate for the African American community, PTSD, unfortunately, within our community is something that is often underdiagnosed or missed. And I think a lot of that goes back to, even though we are with the times within our mental health community, coming forth and discussing our issues and counseling and seeking the help that we need, we still have that generation that doesn't talk about it, right? Not educated on what PTSD is. Or if they're not educated on what PTSD is, we're more susceptible as a minority community to witness a lot. Okay. We still have places that are, you know, what is the word that I'm looking for? Not susceptible to the resources they need. Okay. And we hear about some of those places all the time. I mean, watch the 48 Hours, Memphis, Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
things that other cultures and other people don't see every day. Gun violence, drug violence, all those are PTSD things. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Educate yourself about it, um, and just be open to getting the help and the resources that you need. It doesn't always have to be medication. There are several different ways that they can try to treat it. One of them is it's like a eye movement psychology thing that they try to do, and then one of them is like a cognitive behavioral therapy that they do, which I myself utilized when I was going through the resources that I need to try to assist me with my PTSD. And what that is you're taking the situation that happened and you're breaking it down into scenarios of how you looked at it, how you processed it, how to associate yourself with triggers to almost, because it never goes away, but be able to deal with it in a more tolerable way.
Right.
So, yeah. Do you have any questions about PTSD?
I guess. So is it more you go to your PCP and you're diagnosed, or does your PCP have to refer you to somebody?
PCP is more than likely going to refer you out to somebody that is within the behavioral mental health. Um,
Okay.
and you would be diagnosed along those terms after they've done, an analysis of doing your overall health. What the event was, what the symptoms were, because PTSD isn't something I can draw a lab on and it just says, oh yeah, your markers are high. That is not the case. And PTSD too, after being in the military and going through my own um, life with it, right? It affects a lot. It affects sleep. And when I say sleep, a lot of people, there's like a correlation between PTSD and having issues with breathing. You see a lot of people may have to use CPAP machines and stuff like that. A lot of gut issues. People are at a higher risk for IBS. Also, migraines. Migraines put you when you have PTSD, you're at a higher increase for stuff for having long-term issues with migraines. So there are secondary things. Hypertension is another one that it can cause long-term.
Okay. Is it something that once it's treated, that's it, or is it just more you kind of over time? It's like a lifetime diagnosis.
It is a lifetime diagnosis. You just learn how to advocate for yourself and how to tolerate it and deal with it, but it never goes away. And unfortunately, some people that have PTSD are at a higher risk for committing suicide because they don't have the resources that they need. They're constantly reliving certain situations, and they feel like that's ultimately the only way that they can make it stop.
Right. Okay. Um, so you said you were diagnosed with PTSD.
Yep.
Okay. So how are you treating it now that you're out of the military?
Lots and lots of therapy. Lots,
Okay.
lots and lots of therapy. Access to medications, yes, it depends on what doctor you have. Some people take medications daily. Some people take medications upon the heighten of like certain anniversaries and certain time periods. Fall time is never a good time for me around Thanksgiving. One of my triggers was that I lost somebody around that time. So that is I lost somebody in the military around Thanksgiving. And then typically around like February, March time period for me is also not a good time period for me because of issues and stuff that occurred at Fort Hood. And then relatively after that, I was there when Fort Hood had the shooting. So um, you learn to navigate. Sometimes our bodies are very good, sometimes with suppressing things. Like mentally, we might not be thinking about it, but our body may start to react a certain way when we know those things are coming around. Like for me, I may not suppress it in my day to day, well, show it in my day to day actions, but around that time period, I may like have no sleep. Like my sleep schedule might start to be off. I become like
Mhm.
more reserved into myself, and it's not that I'm purposely doing it. My body's just already like, oh, this is that we're in that month, we're in that time.
Right.
Um, so it's just good to have a support system around those times. You may just want to sign up for like a few times more to talk to your therapist or whatever, or not be around certain triggers. It's almost the same thing with the person that has PTSD because they might have been in Iraq, might have been in Afghanistan, and 4th of July fireworks. You hear that all the time, and they may not correlate well with that. So people may travel around that time period. People may ask their therapist, hey, am I able to maybe take like Ambien or sleep aid or something around that time where I can kind of go to bed early, earplugs. It's just you learn to be more cognitive of it. You know what your triggers are, and you get through the day just knowing how to treat it.
Yeah. And I think too with any mental health or behavioral health diagnosis, it's hard to accept it. I know some people just kind of go through and they're just like, "Oh, I just feel this certain way around this time." Well, no, you need to go look into it and see the why of it because it's not something you dealt with before. It wasn't something that you was born with. So I just know I have a couple of friends that, they struggled with the diagnosis of like, oh, I have this. Meanwhile, my perspective on it would be, oh, I know what it is. Like I know I'm not like, oh, it's something. Just like when I started seeing a therapist, I figured after my father's accident, I have anticipation anxiety. So when I'm anticipating things, that's what creates my anxiety. It could be good or bad. The phone could ring. You could be calling me at 2 o'clock in the morning just because you work overnight. But I'm thinking what's wrong? What's going on?
Is what I talked about earlier with sometimes like your dad was in the accident.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of witnessed it and had to go through the aftermath feelings. So that is sometimes your own form, depending on the signs and symptoms and meeting with somebody, getting the correct diagnosis, but that can be a form of PTSD.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So again, thank you, Bree, for kind of bringing that awareness to us. Make sure to look into, PTSD. Like I said, our purpose of our channel is just to bring awareness, but do some research, leave a comment, let us know what you find. If you have any questions for us, we are happy to address them about PTSD. But before we wrap up our quick episode, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're working on being a little bit more active. We want to thank y'all because I know even one of my friends was like, I ain't seen y'all post in a minute. We coming. We slowly but surely we will be dropping an episode, but we're still learning. Bree was sharing with me this platform we've been using for our short videos because everybody's attention span after a couple of minutes I don't know what they're talking about. So we noticed that we record for about 35 to 45 minutes, but sometimes y'all on the go and y'all just need a little quick Sistahs with the Purpose knowledge or chat. So we're working on that. But in the meantime, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, and we will see you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.